200 American troops are headed to Nigeria to help stop the killing of Christians by Islamist militants. President Trump promised to...
Let me provide a brief update on Operation Epic Fury. Today, the United States military continues to carry out large-scale combat.
My people, this month will be very, very hot. US don't focus on Nigeria. And the Kanu case don't start up right now. So in this video, we get 3 segments of video. One, where Donald Trump they talk about Nigeria. We'll be saying don't mandate to come to Nigeria. And again, another video again. Now where Donald Trump they discuss more about how people will be say they behave like Iran, what they could do to them, which is Nigeria may be included. And another one again the last video now the 3 Israel governments will be say we're going to come for the Kanu case. I think 11th. I want make you pay attention. Watch this video from the start to the end. Listen to everything where they go on. Pay attention. What to the end for better understanding so that you go understand everything where they go on. First of all, the Israel government go send that 3 judges. And Nigeria have about in fact everything man no just talk much. Pay attention to this video to the end so that you could listen for yourself, understand everything where they go on and what will happen right now. So it's important to share this video to everyone on every social media platform so that they go they alert of what will happen and they are aware of what will happen. Drop opinion at the comment section and make sure you write freedom for Mazina the Cal and freedom for the people of Biafra. Share this video to everyone. A lot is about to happen. Donald Trump now they very, very aggressively angry. Listen to what Donald Trump talk to the end. A lot of video they here, and don't forget to click the subscribe button for more updates. Share this video. Now the only one if you take encourage supporters. Thank you.
200 American troops are headed to Nigeria to help stop the killing of Christians by Islamist militants. President Trump promised to protect Christians and others under persecution and execution there last year when he designated Nigeria a country of particular concern over the attacks and mass killings and kidnappings. Earlier this week, Congressman Riley Moore was in focus.
Right now, the folks that I am talking to on the ground have described what's happening in the Middle Belt in the north of Nigeria right now in the last 10 days as a bloodbath. It's just wanton death and murder and destruction that continues. But working with the administration, we are making steps in the right direction to address this persecution. The president is very singularly focused on addressing this.
And it is in the Faulkner Focus, and we continue our coverage. Senior foreign correspondent Jillian Turner. Jillian.
Good morning to you, Harris. President Trump is accusing Nigeria's government of complete and total failure to protect its own citizens from terrorist attacks. So now the Pentagon is deploying, as you mentioned, U.S. service members in the hopes that those troops can help Nigeria's military to help its own people. There are 200 troops, as you mentioned, who are going to be deployed to Nigeria. They are going to work hand in glove with a very small U.S. footprint already there on the ground. They are focused on the fight against Islamist terror groups, Boko Haram and ISIS. Here's the president last week, Harris.
When Christians come under attack, they know they're going to be attacked violently and viciously by President Trump. I know it's not a nice thing to say, but that's the way it is.
Nigerians have been hit by a series of deadly attacks in 2026 so far. Militants regularly raiding markets, villages, churches, schools all across the country. More than 240 people have been killed so far. This U.S. troop deployment follows, as you mentioned, the designation of Nigeria as a country of concern in October. Back then, President Trump cited the killing of 3,100 Christians known last year, as well as joint U.S.-Nigerian strikes on terror targets on Christmas Day. The U.S. envoy for religious freedom says that terror groups are actually getting a helping hand, unfortunately. Take a listen.
Nigeria is now the deadliest place on the planet to be a Christian. At the same time, the Nigerian government is seeking and receiving support from countries I previously named: China, Russia, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia. I wonder why.
It's really interesting, Harris, to look at the demographics of African nations writ large, because nearly half of the entire continent today actually identifies as Christian. This is a huge demographic change from 50 years ago, 100 years ago. It was less than 9% of people in the country. This incredibly swift and transformational change, I guess, is coming with a huge cost. Harris?
Well, and for the first time, there have been studies, Pew among them, that have looked at the size and scope of Christianity around the globe. And by numbers, it is now outnumbering other religions on the planet. So what you're watching is where that's happening in particular. Jillian, thank you very much.
Hey,
and thank everybody for being here, and please feel free to sit. So before we begin this important ceremony, and there's no ceremony that can be much more important than this, let me provide a brief update on Operation Epic Fury. Today, the United States military continues to carry out large-scale combat operations in Iran to eliminate the grave threats posed to America by this terrible terrorist regime. Following our obliteration of Iran's nuclear program in Operation Midnight Hammer a short while ago, we warned Iran not to make any attempt to rebuild at a different location because they were unable to use the ones that we so powerfully blew up. But they ignored those warnings and refused to cease their pursuit of nuclear weapons. In addition, the regime's conventional ballistic missile program was growing rapidly and dramatically, and this posed a very clear, colossal threat to America and our forces stationed overseas. The regime already had missiles capable of hitting Europe and our bases, both local and overseas, and would soon have had missiles capable of reaching our beautiful America. The purpose of this fast-growing missile program was to shield their nuclear weapon development and make it extraordinarily difficult for anyone to stop them from making these highly forbidden by us nuclear weapons. We were the ones that were complaining. We were the ones that wanted it stopped, but everybody was behind us. They just didn't have the courage to say so. An Iranian regime armed with long-range missiles and nuclear weapons would be an intolerable threat to the Middle East, but also to the American people. Our country itself would be under threat, and it was very nearly under threat. I was very proud to have knocked out the Iran nuclear deal by President Barack Hussein Obama. That was a horrible, horrible, dangerous document. They would have had nuclear weapons 3 years ago, and they would have used them. But I'll not let that happen. For almost 47 years, this regime has been attacking the United States and killing Americans. Every time you see someone with missing arms and legs or a face that's been absolutely shattered violently, it was almost certainly caused by an Iran roadside bomb. They were put there by General Soleimani, who was the father of the roadside bomb. Very proudly, he thought, but I terminated him in my first term. This was our last best chance to strike what we're doing right now and eliminate the intolerable threats posed by this sick and sinister regime. And they are indeed sick and sinister. Our objectives are clear. First, we're destroying Iran's missile capabilities, and you see that happening on an hourly basis, and their capacity to produce brand new ones, and pretty good ones they make. Second, we're annihilating their navy. We've knocked out already 10 ships. They're at the bottom of the sea. Third, we're ensuring that the world's #1 sponsor of terror can never obtain a nuclear weapon, never going to have a nuclear weapon. I said that from the beginning. They're never going to have a nuclear weapon. They were on the road to getting one legitimately through a deal that was signed foolishly by our country. And finally, we're ensuring that the Iranian regime cannot continue to arm, fund, and direct terrorist armies outside of their borders. And we thought we had a deal, but then they backed out. And they came back, and we thought we had a deal, and they backed out. I said, you can't deal with these people. You've got to do it the right way. Today, we grieve for the 4 heroic American service members who have been killed in action and send our love and support to their families. In their memory, we continue this mission with ferocious, unyielding resolve to crush the threat this terrorist regime poses to the American people, and a threat indeed it is. We have the strongest and most powerful, by far, military in the world, and we will easily prevail. We're already substantially ahead of our time projections, but whatever the time is, it's okay. Whatever it takes, we will always, and we have right from the beginning, we projected 4 to 5 weeks, but we have capability to go far longer than that. We'll do it. Whatever somebody said today, they said, oh, well, the president wants to do it really quickly. After that, he'll get bored. I don't get bored. There's nothing boring about this. Do you agree with that, Pete? I don't think there's anything, Mr. General. I think there's nothing boring about it. Somebody actually said from the media, I think he'll get bored after about a week or two. No, we don't get bored. I never get bored. If I got bored, I wouldn't be standing here right now, I guarantee you that, to go through what I had to go through. We also projected 4 weeks to terminate the military leadership, and as you know, that was done in about an hour, so we're ahead of schedule there by a lot. But please join me in thanking every American service member who bravely is standing in harm's way. They really are incredible, and I just want to thank you. We have a lot of them right here. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We have a lot of great service members here with us, too, in this beautiful building. Isn't it beautiful? We're adding on to the building a little bit. We're improving the building. See that nice drape? When that comes down, right now you see a very, very deep hole. But in about 1.5 years from now, you're going to see a very, very beautiful building. And there's your entrance to it right there. In fact, it looks so nice, I think I'll save money on the doors, because it can't get more beautiful than that. I picked those drapes in my first term. I always like gold, but I think we can save a lot of money. I just saved curtains. But, and it'll be spectacular. It'll be the most beautiful ballroom. I believe it's because I built many a ballroom. I believe it's going to be the most beautiful ballroom anywhere in the world. And when you hear all that hammering out there, you know why the First Lady is not thrilled exactly. She said, will the pile drivers ever stop? You know, they go from 6 in the morning till 11:30 in the evening. Can you imagine? Here? You know what? To me, that's a beautiful sound. She doesn't like it. I love it. You know what? To me, other than here, because we're donating it, not a penny to the taxpayer. It'll be under budget, ahead of schedule. It'll be 400 million or less. Most people say 400 million or more. No, it'll be less. But when I hear that sound, that beautiful sound behind me, it means money, so I like it. But my wife isn't thrilled. She said, this is getting crazy. I said, don't worry about it. We'll be all finished up in a few months.
The government have appointed 10 lawyers that will be sitting for the final judgment on appeal court. That will be all know that the Israel government have taken up it on their own self, sending their own lawyers, which I earlier made you people to understand that the Israel government are sending 3 lawyers for the representing on that day. So now, as it stands, via this particular issue now,
European Union came to Nigeria on the 25th day of March 2026. What are they here to do? I'll go straight to the reading before I play you the video. I'm just going to read just a very short part of it. Then I'll play you the video so that you will hear and see yourself. Now, according to this news, it says, we go straight into the news. It says, the initiative forms part of a broader multi-sector partnership covering agriculture, clean energy, digitalization, transport and trade, migration, health, and education. So these are the key areas that they signed the deal. Please stay with me. It's just very short news. Under the governance, peace and security component, the EU supports effort to stabilize northeastern states, including Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa, where insurgency has displaced millions since 2009. All right, we went further to say, the EU emphasized that the effort was part of a broader peace building and stability measures in conflict-affected areas. Other actions include supporting conflict resolution, strengthening relationships between farmers and herders, promoting peaceful borderlands, and improving access to justice for vulnerable groups. So these are the areas that they signed the deal. Please stay with me. The final part where the cocoa lies is this. It says, The report stated the EU collaborates with Nigeria to promote stability and security by supporting democratic governance, inclusive participation of young people, women, and people with disabilities, and fostering peace-building efforts. Okay? All right. Key actions include promoting conflict resolution and prevention, supporting peaceful and resilient borderlands, encouraging community-led initiatives for conflict prevention and stability, and supporting conflict mitigation and community peace initiative in northwest Nigeria. Okay. Finally, it says, this is the koko, others are strengthening relationships between farmers and herders in Adamawa and Taraba states, promoting the reintegration of former combatants, including Boko Haram associates in Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa State. Please, I want you to pay very close attention to that. It says, promoting the reintegration of former combatants, including Boko Haram associates in Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa State. Now, the European Union came to Nigeria to sign a deal which promotes reintegration of former combatants. Now they are calling terrorists, bandits, Boko Haram members, they are calling them former combatants. They want to reintegrate them into the army or into the society. In fact, for some of you that do not understand this, I have summed it up in one page. Just look at this, are the things, the key areas that they sign. Now, it says, number one, as you can see, promoting conflict resolution and prevention. On this topic, look at the deals they signed. Number one, supporting peaceful and resilient borderlands. Number two, okay, encouraging community-led initiatives for conflict prevention and stability. Number three, supporting conflict mitigation and community peace initiatives in northwest Nigeria. Okay. Number four, I think, strengthening relationships between farmers and herders in Adamawa and Taraba State. Now, number five, it says, promoting the reintegration of former combatants, including Boko Haram associates in Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa State. Did you hear that? This is one of the deals they sign. Of course, the last one, they say, providing support for livelihoods and conflict resolution in the Niger Delta. So, few days ago, if you remember, the Nigerian Chief of Defense Staff came out on the internet to say that, come on, that when they catch terrorists, that they don't unalive them, they reintegrate them, because, you know, the Bible passage that talked about the prodigal son, so they reintegrate them probably into the army or into the society. And now we are seeing this. So it was actually a deal that was signed with the European Union. Some of us don't really understand what is happening in Nigeria. We don't understand. Just yesterday, I hope you saw what happened in Plateau State. Anyway, my major concern is that this man has talked about this. And when he was shouting it, so many people were there saying, oh, forget him. He is just a miscreant. He just wants to get popularity. He just wants to do this. And today, it is happening in our own very eye. It is happening before us. European Union came to Nigeria and signed a deal. One of the deals is on how to reintegrate Boko Haram members, terrorists, how to reintegrate them into the society. I ask again, how many of you saw what happened in Plateau State yesterday? The unalive Christians on Palm Sunday. And yet, we are talking about reintegrating those groups into the society or into the army. That is what European Union came to sign. And that was why I said earlier that if Nigerians really want to take back this country, they can do it. They can do it. If not that when they rise up now, if they see a warehouse that is full of rice, they will stop whatever they are doing. They can do it. If they want to make Nigeria a better place, they can do it. If they want to take it back and say, no, we are going back to 1940, we are going back to the drawing board, they can do it. But because 1 million naira, 2 million, 1 billion, they will forget whatever they are looking for. Look at what European Union came to sign for you. Well, I'm going to play just a very short clip because I don't want this video to be too long. I'm going to play a very short clip for you so you hear from them, of course, and also hear what people are saying. Then you do well to drop your comment in the comment section what to think. Do well to subscribe if this is your first time, right? Please listen to them.
In conclusion, Nigeria is happy to note that this dialogue has reinforced the values of mutual respect, shared responsibility, and forward-looking cooperation. Nigeria is determined to translate today's commitments into tangible outcomes that improve lives, strengthen democracy, and secure a sustainable future for generations to come. Finally, we appreciate Her Excellency Kaya Kallas, High Representative for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy and Vice President of the European Union, and the delegation for their presence, and wish them safe trip back home. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Excellency. May I respectfully invite Her Excellency Ms. Kaya Kallas, High Representative of the European Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy and Vice President of the European Commission, to present her statement.
Dear Minister, dear Yusuf, it's really my great pleasure to be here in Nigeria today. And this morning we co-chaired the EU Ministerial Dialogue. Nigeria is a key partner to the European Union, and strong potential is there also to deepen our cooperation even further. This may be my first visit to Nigeria, but I know the strength of your country, and this will not be the last. As Africa's most populous nation and economic engine, you are political heavyweight and also regional anchor. Nigeria's stability is crucial for the entire region. EU-Nigeria cooperation has grown steadily in recent years, and we want this positive track to continue. So this morning we also spoke about key areas where we work closely together. First, on security, Nigeria faces a dangerous rise in jihadist violence. Extremist groups like Boko Haram pose not only a threat to Nigeria, but also to the region. Nigeria is a bulwark in the fight against terrorism, and Europe stands shoulder to shoulder with Nigeria. Over the past decade, we have mobilized more than 700 million euros to support counterterrorism, stabilization, rule of law, and the multinational joint task force. But our cooperation is not only tactical, it's also strategic. Earlier this year, we launched the first EU-Nigeria Peace, Security and Defense Dialogue, and this is how we turn our partnership into action, by defining the priorities and strengthening cooperation. Nigeria is also a major partner on trade, investment, and green and digital transitions. The EU is Nigeria's main trading and investment partner. More than a quarter of Nigeria's trade is with the European Union. Over 200 European companies are operating here and creating 130,000 jobs. The EU's Global Gateway program is well on track and with Nigeria and in Nigeria. And today we move forward with new projects in digital, agriculture, health, worth 66 million euros of grants and 221 million euros in low-interest loans. The EU-Nigeria Business Forum, which we will organize in Lagos in June, will boost the investments and partnerships between our companies and private sector organizations. We also look forward to negotiating with Nigeria Science, Technology and Innovation Agreement under the Horizon Europe program. And all this is a win for Nigeria, but it's also a win for the European Union. And third, on migration. We have made real progress on the EU-Nigeria readmission agreement to ensure safe and dignified returns of those Nigerians who can no longer stay in the European Union. So I thank you, Yusuf, for your leadership really in these negotiations and also initializing the agreement today. This is part of broader cooperation on migration. It shows that even on sensitive issues, trust delivers results. And finally, we discussed the broader regional outlook. West Africa faces serious challenges from unconstitutional changes of power, terrorist threats in the Sahel spilling over to neighboring countries, to humanitarian crises in parts of the region. In this turbulent situation, the defense of the rules-based international order matters more than ever. That is why the EU remains firmly committed to its partnership with ECOWAS. We strongly support ECOWAS as a framework for regional stability, as the future of standby force illustrates. And you can count on our long-term commitment. Dear Minister, the EU is a reliable and predictable partner for Nigeria. We believe in this partnership, and I hope today's discussions also kick off an ambitious upgrade of the EU-Nigeria partnership. So thank you again for hosting us and welcoming us so warmly. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. At this juncture, there will be questions from the men of the press. Please kindly state your name and the organization you represent. And let your question be precise, please. Very few questions, please. Two questions.
My name is Nduka Ojenmo. I work for Bloomberg News. My question is to you. I wanted to get your reaction on Donald Trump's seemingly backing down on Iran. That's just happened in the last couple of hours. And I'm also curious to know if there are any critical minerals deals you've signed with Nigeria during this visit. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for this question. I think the recent statement that there will be no attacks on energy infrastructure is a very welcome development. I think any attacks on infrastructure, are causing chaos in the region and really escalating this war even further. What comes to critical raw materials, we were discussing this today. I think there is definitely room for cooperation. We haven't yet signed a memorandum of understanding, but we definitely have an interest and we are working to find a common solution.
This brings us to the end of this joint briefing. There will be group photograph immediately after this briefing, please. One more question. Your finger.
Once again, good afternoon, Your Excellency. Once again, good afternoon, Your Excellency. Your Excellency, we would like to know a bit more about the facility that you just mentioned, that EU will support Nigeria in hydrocarbon by emission, to tackle emission. So is there any timeline for this project?
No, I think you got what I said wrong. I was talking about diversifying from hydrocarbons, increasing our energy mix, so that so we're talking about green energy. We're talking about even things that would certainly in the future prove to be much more efficient and efficacious. So green hydrogen, for instance, we're already working with Germany, as you're aware, on creating a framework, on creating a strategy for Nigeria on green hydrogen. So these are the sort of things, and there is a lot that is going on in the area of photovoltaics, so solar, wind. The EU is already working with Nigeria on studies, on technical support, so that we're able to identify new areas where wind energy is possible. Because at the moment, I think it's just Katsina where Nigeria has experimented with that. So that's what I'm thinking.
Social media commentators yesterday highlighted an observation that the deal includes a clause to support the reintegration of repentant terrorists. Now, the information contained under initiatives on the European Commission website under Aid, Development, Cooperation and Fundamental Rights states that under governance, peace and security, the EU collaborates with Nigeria to promote stability and security by supporting democratic governance, inclusive participation of young people, women, and people with disabilities, and fostering peace-building efforts. Key actions include promoting the reintegration of former combatants, including Boko Haram associates in Borno, Yobe, and Adamawa states. Now, whilst this item sits amongst other clauses that relate to clean energy, migration, health, and education, it is the clause that has generated conversation. So let's quickly look at the breakdown of this 288 million euro grant deal that was sealed last week. So out of the 288 million package, let's just look at the breakdown. We have an image of that. 50 million will support healthcare, manufacturing, a number of things. You can see them on the screen there. But 16 million has been said to be targeted towards strengthening migration, governance, and reintegration. So from that 288 million package, we're looking at 16 million going towards migration, governance, and reintegration of the so-called repentant combatants or Boko Haram associates. All right. Now, this document is, of course, from information retrieved from the Nigeria Agency of News. Let's look at reactions on social media before Dr. Abati gives us his input. Lanre said this document is 2021. At that time, there was a program called Operation Safe Corridor, and they were supporting. Now, just for context, the framework between the working relationship between EU and Nigeria is 2021 to 2027. So that tweet is correct, but doesn't reflect the fact that it's a period. Now let's go to the next tweet from Express, who said, before everyone jumps to conclusions, this isn't the EU saying let terrorists walk free. What they're referring to is a standard counter-insurgency approach called reintegration. It applies to people who surrender, are captured or defect, and then go through screening, de-radicalization, and monitoring before being reintroduced into society. Nigeria is already doing this with Boko Haram defectors. The EU is just supporting that framework, not inventing something new. That said, people are right to feel uneasy about it. You can't talk about reintegration without also talking about justice for victims, accountability, and the very real fear communities have about letting former fighters back in. So yes, question is, but let's at least understand what's actually being proposed instead of reducing it to, and I quote, they are bringing terrorists back. And the final tweet from Ade, the plan is to keep us in perpetual disarray so Africa may never rise above its current status. Dr. Abati, several issues emerging here, but the fundamentals being Nigeria's engagement with the rest of the world and how it's impacting the common man.
Okay, yeah, let's start with the European Union. Now, after a fashion, you have development assistance being provided by many countries of the world, particularly in sub-Saharan Africa, not just Nigeria, be it Japan or China or Germany, but this one is EU, it covers Germany. The US, until Trump came second term and decided to reduce, some of those funding engagements and say, no, we'll rather focus more on trade rather than aid. Now, the issue here is that, those packages like this one, which is 2021 to 2027, they will have the items. But also, these grant given countries, they also relate with the government in place, in power. And that's why I find the second tweet, ex-logistics or so, they called him, I find it more reasonable to say that, look, this does not mean they are going to say bring the terrorists back. You have an administration in place that is not talking about, bringing terrorists back and giving them community attires as we had under the Buhari administration. You have a government that is talking about justice, about ensuring justice, particularly for the victims, ensuring justice also for the perpetrators. And we've seen a few instances where arrested, apprehended kidnappers and bandits and terrorists have been taken to court to a degree that we did not witness under the previous administration. However, we should just know that this thing called integration is even sanctioned, approved by the UN. They call it a de-radicalization, reintegration, and then rehabilitation. But it's a matter of state policy for any particular state to adopt this. However, the popular opinion in Nigeria is that Nigerians want those bandits, terrorists, as criminals. I think it was even under this administration that a definition was offered that these persons are criminals and they should be apprehended and brought to book. Look at the amount of distress, chaos, disruption that they cause in society. So if people take your children, as they did in Niger State, or they attack churches, as they have done in Ondo State and in other places like Plateau, then you bring them back, you put them in Ashebi, as they call it, and you say, oh, these are persons that are worthy of reintegration. Experience has shown that these persons, are criminals and they do not deserve any kind of, soft treatment. After all, there was even one state under the Buhari administration that arranged husbands for the women that were involved in banditry and arranged wives for. So where did that lead Nigeria? So it's for each country to design what will work for.
My people, sure not hear waiting they go on. Which one I think, drop your opinion at the comment section. I think at this time around that no say Nigeria government have no option than to make sure say they release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Then they won't follow just that legal means, maybe say they talk one or two things to release Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. So I believe this time around Mazi Nnamdi Kanu go they release. And if you remember everything I be telling you last time, this thing na political. They won't just use politics, they won't play politics on this. And from there they will just give and terms and conditions will be say we go favor Tinubu government. So everything we Tinubu they do now to make sure say in win this 2027 election, so that everything could be in favor or in, well, let's just see how it goes. I know we just talk more, but the way waiting at the predict, I know say now political conditions will be saying they go give Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to make sure say Tinubu enter their next tenor. So now within I just the perceive. So I'm not gonna just talk much. Drop your own thoughts at the comment section. Which one I think on this move now where they go on, and which one I think about the Israel where go come to sit down to know which thing they go on. Share this video to everyone on every social media platform and drop your opinion at the comment section. Share this video, and the only one I feel take encourage support us and click the subscribe button for more updates.